So they put me on a spot to lead it in here, and we're going to talk about that thumbnail first of all.
Yeah,
That's great.
Yeah, that I don't know how that one came to me. I remember watching that when I was very young. It was one of the only movies we had on tape, and so watched it a fair few times. And so yeah, we've had a couple of other good like thoughts about that.
I think it was just a touch of brilliance from you,
I mean, I went to, and I didn't go to, I watched the Adobe Max like virtual webinar, and it was talking about all these different things you could do, and I thought I'd try out a couple of things. So it was a Firefly inspired thing. There was a comment which says Rodney and Trigger would be a good one. Okay, I don't know if Only Fools and Horses made it across the pond or up to Norway, but it's a very that one.
Come on, I grew up on Only Fools and Horses.
We've always had the free sort of tennis goats. But we thought, well, it has actually been a while. The last one we did was just before New Year, wasn't it? And
yes,
we did a kind of our thoughts for the best of the previous year. So we thought we'd maybe start with a bit of a kind of update on where things are going and how we're all doing. So Brandon's been exploring a new app idea. Do you want to tell us some stuff about that? Can you tell us anything about that?
Yeah. This is all me, so yeah, I can talk about this. But I just think it's wild that we haven't chatted this year, at least on video. I mean, we chat from time to time, but it's nice to get back and chat again. But yeah, I've been either focused or distracted, depending on how you want to look at it. I think one of the things I've always been curious about is like how to generate more focus and create the things that you want to create. And so I've been thinking about to-do lists, and they're really good at tracking things, but they're not very good at having you focus on the key things that you need to get done. So I've been thinking about how to tackle that. So that's what's been going on in my world. But what about you guys?
Cool. Are we going to go in this order? I guess the order of the screen.
Yeah.
That sounds pretty cool, and that's like a really nice mental exercise of logic and tackling things that you know from a different angle, I guess. But anyway,
I mean, yeah, we can do it analog. Why can't we do it digitally? So
yeah, definitely.
That's been the exploration.
Cool. For me, I started off here with the COVID. That was fun, and then it was like, I don't know, literally the craziest winter I've ever had in Norway, with insane amounts of snow, even for Norway. And then I kind of figured out, okay, I don't have enough time for everything. So I wanted to change my work schedule as well, and how much commitment I give to what, especially because this year I'm also finalizing, it's the final year of development of a very long-term project, Mars Awakening, a video game that I've been developing for 5 years now. Now it's the 5th year. So I needed to change a focus, and that of course meant how I tackle YouTube stuff. So I've kind of made some changes that improved my life overall. Basically, I turned off all of the notifications, email notifications on my phone fully. Like, I don't see them. They are not there for me. I check work emails once a day in the morning, and only on work days. So that's that. Comments as well, twice a day. I check them like that. And then also, in order to get some more time, I figured, I'm now doing YouTube related work every other Monday. So one day every 2 weeks, but that day is the monster one, because then I have to record, edit, and schedule 4 videos. And sometimes they are 4 hours of finished edited material in one day. So that turns into like 16, 17-hour days.
I want to pick your brain on how you do all of that in 16 or 17 hours.
Like this. And I'm not kidding. Literally, I tried without MDO. I couldn't. It just didn't work. So, and it
link in the description below.
Of course. But it does tie into that organization thing, that it's just like you have to have something. Whatever, for me this works, but whatever works, for anyone. And yeah, for me the big change was that's a huge change for me, and I really like it, and it's I'm happy about that.
Good. And so, a follow-up question: Are you thinking about it like all of the time? Are you always building the content of those reviews?
Took me 3 months to go cold turkey, right? It's an inertia thing. So it's been years of constant thinking. But when I made the change, it was difficult. It was really, I had to slap myself. No, don't check. Don't grab the phone. Don't do this, blah, blah, blah. But after a while, I forgot. And basically what happens is I'm not constantly thinking about it, but I have like I don't know, one passive core in the background of my mind doing like, I don't know, 17% of processing. Basically when I see an email or a comment that I check once a day, oh, okay, that could be a thing. And I also have my Google Keep, which is basically, okay, realistically, I need 3 videos for each other Monday because one of them is Q&A. That was also a godsend because it was really cool. And people seem to like it. I love doing it, and it's a useful kind of thing. So, yeah, I need like 3 to figure out and also make a mental note of these things. So it's not a constant focus, but it's not a complete disconnect either, right? So I have to balance. It's a difficult balance.
Yeah, it's fascinating. Yeah, I think I'm finding that balance as well. And I've, the last sort of 2 years, I've gone down from full time at work to 4 days to 3 days this year. And next year, I'm also asking for another day. So it's going to be 3 days YouTube and 2 days school, something around that. And it is it's just about finding that right balance. And I'm really excited. And, it's amazing, this kind of opportunity. And it's you guys checking in and doing all these things. And it's just, it's lovely to chat to you guys here on these lives as well, and finding ways to produce the videos that aren't so aren't so
involved.
Yeah, exactly. That you get valuable content that you enjoy doing and people enjoy watching. It's absolutely brilliant, isn't it? And I think a lot of YouTubers and a lot of people in all kind of creative places talk about storytelling, and for me it's been like, right, this period's been quite nice actually, because it hasn't been a big release in terms of like the books or Remarkable, since the Supernote A6X2 really. And that's been kind of nice to sort of pause and kind of reflect and revisit tablets. And so for me, it's been revisiting happily our first kind of topic is the Note Air 3, and I've been revisiting the Note Air 3, and I think just sort of maybe let's get the right one starting here. And did we find with the Note Air 3 rather than the C, which we all loved the Note Air 3 C, it was the kind of winner of everything at the end of last year, did we really find that the absence of BSR and the 227 PPI bother you? And I think that I'm finding myself just thinking about making videos like almost all the time. And yeah, it's nice to sort of give yourself a bit of a rule. And it's amazing as well that the point you reach where there's so many comments, and I read every single comment, and a lot of the time I don't hit the like love it button until I've gonna respond to that. And I do want to respond to every single one that I can, but just having that kind of engagement and having people contribute and tell you their experiences with the device and everything as you go, it's amazing. It's absolutely brilliant. So let's fire into this. So the absence of BSR on this, did it bother you? Was it an issue? And what about 227 pixels per inch? It's always a bit of a question for everyone.
You want to go Brandon, first, Voja? I'll back up whatever you say. I've got my own thoughts, but I want to hear your thoughts first.
Well, I'll just tackle the 227 thing because that's ties in exactly into what you were talking about, Kit, because the release schedule kind of died down a bit. I had time to nerd out, and one of the first nerd outs that I wanted to do was the videos 227 versus 300 ppi, and then after that, like, are all 300 ppi the same? Like, what does actually matter? And to me, it was quite interesting to actually put the microscope down and see that you can have, like, I don't know, 600 ppi if you want, but if you have that rough paper-like surface on top, it doesn't matter. because that you're going to have refraction, and you can't go beyond refraction. So basically what that means is that 300 ppi, you're probably going to notice it, and it's going to matter on a device like Tab Ultra. If there was a Tab Ultra without a C, if you had the Tab Ultra with 300 ppi, I think we would notice between old Tab Ultra and the Tab Ultra with 300 ppi. On this guy, no, we couldn't actually see it. But the thing that really blew my mind. Okay, well, it's 10 o'clock, so I'm excited to see you guys. So I'm like a little bit over exaggerating. But the thing that surprised me was when I put down the Note Air 3C, which is 300 ppi, but it does have that Kaleido matrix on top, and Kindle Scribe, that through whatever kind of things, I couldn't see a noticeable, meaningful difference. So no, 227 ppi did not bother me at all. It was, and the BSR thing, I don't know. I'm old school, and I love my Note Air 3C, but there was a touch of nostalgia, I think, when I grabbed Note Air 3. It felt balanced. Like this all makes sense. And just knowing that the battery lasts so long, it was a thing that probably doesn't matter to some people, but for me, it's a sense of security and sense of comfort. Let's put it like that.
Yeah, calm that's the way to put it, isn't it? Yeah, that's it. You lose the BSR, but you gain that battery, don't you? Yeah.
I have a little bit of a complex position here, which is I didn't get a Note Air 3, but I do have a Note Air 2 Plus. So, and I know that device well. I've spent a good bit of time with the device. It's just probably my first real e-ink device. And so it's not that I have an issue with them coming out with the Note Air 3. I think it makes great sense to upgrade the Note Air 2 Plus. I think it's more of a what could have been type issue for me, which is if Amazon didn't have exclusivity on the Scribe screen, would we have gotten a Note Air 3 that had 300 pixels per inch and good battery life without BSR? So I am actually of the position that I really do want 300 pixels per inch. I still love my Remarkable. It's still the most distraction-free device, but I wish it were 300 pixels per inch. And so it's not that 227 is bad. I just wonder if there wasn't this sweetheart deal with Amazon and e-ink, would the Note Air 3 have been 300 pixel per inch?
Yeah, that's interesting. I had a good discussion with somebody on a comment, just saying how much you guys influence you guys in the audience influence the content, and they were just saying, why is there not, why is nobody else making e-paper screens? They said, why is no one making e-ink screens? Well, because e-ink is the company, and we know that, but doesn't make sense.
Doesn't the patent run out or has run out? Voja, I think you've commented on this, correct?
On which one?
On the original black and white. I think the patent ran out on that.
The 300 ppi thing. Are you thinking 300 ppi or patent for the... No, I was talking about the Wacom layer patent thing with the EMR when I was visiting that. So that was the patent thing. As far as the 300 ppi, I don't think that's a patent. I think that was just an exclusivity deal. I don't have any confirmations, but we do have a confirmation that A5X2 is going to be 300 ppi.
And you wonder, is that what's holding that back? Is that still that remnants of that exclusivity deal?
I think so. So it sounds like it's not a... Sorry, going back to the original question. So other companies could build e-paper displays, but there's a lot of cost and a lot of infrastructure to do it. So the legal thing stopping other people from creating e-paper is gone, but there's a lot of costs to get that infrastructure up and running, and it's a relatively small market in the grand scheme of things. So it really is just this exclusivity deal that's preventing 300 pixel per inch from being in all of these. Well, that's lovely, in all of these devices, but no longer a legal issue.
And what about BSR? Did the BSR bother you guys at all, or no? For me, not really.
Very occasionally that I thought that's not quite as good as it could be. And I think it just shows that how good books are in general, and a lot of these, it's not just books that are good at keeping the screen white. I walked down when I was traveling. I walked down the aircraft aisle coming back from the loo, and I was seeing all these e-readers, and I was thinking, wow, that's how other people experience e-ink. And I think that a lot of people probably, their e-reader comes out once or twice a year when they go on holiday because they're going to read 5 books in a week, sitting by the pool, and they're not going to take 5 books, and they've got this thing that's quite a lot older, and you kind of forget what it used to look like, how it was this kind of streamy mess, and I kind of just I didn't obviously stare over people's shoulders, but I just remember being quite struck, like, hey, there's a sort of 5-year-old Kobo, there's an old Kindle, they look really bad.
It's really bad.
Yeah. Yes. And yet this looks really, really good. I think the rumor is interesting. We're talking about, we don't have any information about this more than the kind of what's out there, but there is a device called the Note X3, I think, that seems to be going out. I think it's called a Note X3 Pro, and there seems to be a Note X Youth, and they seem to be China-only devices. And what sometimes happens, just before the Tab Ultra, the original Tab Ultra, there was a release in China of the Tab 10, Tab 10, I think they called it, and that was very similar to what came out as the Tab Ultra, and it seems the Note X3 Pro has got a 300 DPI PPI screen in it, and I think that probably tells us maybe we'll get a Air 3 Pro, which might put some people's faces out of joint because it's another upgrade in a short amount of time. But in honesty, I think that part of it is the availability of these screens and the way they kind of come out of this factory in batches. And e-ink are playing a game where they can name their price, because these companies are, they all want them. They all want the same tech, so they can say, well, the latest thing, who's the highest bidder? Who's the highest bidder for 300 DPI screen that's coming out of this size? And so I think that companies like Books, which are not big companies, Supernote, not big companies, they sometimes have to wait in a bit of a queue. And so it's I kind of feel like probably the Air 3 might be sold out this time in 6 months, and the Air 3 Pro will be what sells at that kind of price point in the market. So I think there's an interesting sort of point there. That's just conjecture, and I don't know what, that's not from any knowledge, but
it's not too far off, because before Note Air 3 came out, there was a leak, or basically an info that Books did file for trademark and registration of names, which was Note Air 3C, Note Air 3, Note Air 3C Pro, and Note 3 Pro. So 2 are unaccounted for as of now, 3C Pro and 3 Pro. So it's not entirely out of bounds to actually make that conjecture.
It does feel like they're going with the batch approach, where they get a bunch of these, they spin up operations to do the batch, and then they usually make some tweak for the next batch and give it a new name. I mean, I'm sure
are you guys potentially excited for that? Like a 300 PPI version of Note Air 3?
I mean, I think people who truly need the multifaceted aspect of the books should be excited. It's just a question of whether you need that. So for instance, for me, the Books was the first e-ink device that I purchased because I was under the impression that I needed a backlight, or excuse me, a front light. And Remarkable didn't have a front light. The Supernote didn't have a front light. And so the Books was the option. And it checked all of the boxes for me. But it wasn't until I tried the other two that I realized that I could focus for longer with the Remarkable and with the Supernote. And so it's really do you need access to all of these different intents, or do you want the device that does one thing the best for you? And that's a tough decision, especially when you haven't tried them.
Well, hold that thought though, because we're going to talk a little bit about favorite device at the moment. And don't think that anyone in the audience hasn't noticed that this isn't as billed, Supernote versus Remarkable. You two would be me refereeing the grudge match. But I think maybe that could perhaps wait now, because surely there's going to be a Remarkable 3 at some point in the not too distant future. We know the A5X2 is coming. It would, at this point, to spend that time and go through the kind of heartache of watching the destruction of one of our dear colleagues here, like in a grudge match like that. We can wait for that. We can wait for things to be even in the latest kind of hardware. There, it's fascinating. It really is the way this kind of market, and just like looking at some of the comments there, like why I'm not sure why these things. These things are difficult to kind of explain. Why is it that we're almost 2 years now since Scribe was out, and yet it's the only one, certainly in the Western markets, really, that's got the 300 DPI screen.
Well, it just shows you how much leverage Amazon has here. I mean, you have to think about how many Kindles are sold each year. It's got to be multiple orders of magnitude versus everyone else. Yeah,
absolutely. Interesting. It seemed that in the sort of brief things about the X3 Pro and X3 Youth, it seemed the X3 Youth was giving up on a front light, and there was something about books saying that without the front light you get much more light transmission, so you get a bit more clarity. And so maybe they're sort of that type of company that will happily hedge their bets across. Well, some people don't want a front light, some people do prefer these things, and maybe it'd be interesting to see if you get an absolute Note Air 3 Lite as well at the same time, or something, or call it a Youth for now, and that had 227 PPI and trying to be a lot cheaper than the rest of the market. Interesting. Anything else you change on the Air 3, you guys, apart from the screen?
Sorry?
It was good. Doesn't need any more RAM or anything. It's good processor. Android 13.
Not for me. I think with that latency of the screen, there's like that's the bottleneck. So
otherwise, that form factor is excellent. I don't think there's anything to complain about that.
Yeah.
I wish I could. I'm just curious if it would be possible to see and touch and use an all plastic version of a Note Air 3 housing without a front light and no glass on top, but actual plastic thin.
So you mean a Super Note?
No. This one still has this glass thing, and it's not actually plastic. So that's one of the reasons why I'm talking about. So I'm more thinking like Remarkable 1, but in that kind of nice form factor, or Quaderno A4, something that gets you connected. But we'll talk about that a bit later. But it's something that kind of just strikes me as an interesting
I think that's really
thing. I wish that we could see it.
Yeah, well, I think it's one of those things where you have to experience it. I think that device is incredibly difficult to market and sell, but people maybe end up having better long-term enjoyment with it from an actual use perspective. But it's hell to sell because the glass and the metal is sexy, even if the plastic is more functional. I 100% agree with you. Completely agree.
And cueing now the environmental attacks of like, oh, plastic, no. Have you guys heard of recycling?
Should we fire in with the next one, Brandon? I think you're first up for this one. Your favorite device after some time now. You're already brandishing the thing at us. So
so it's complicated. It's really complicated. Here, you got my screen? Perfect. Thank you. A6X2. I loved it. I still love it. But lately, I've been working on bigger projects, more creative projects, and I found that the size is a limitation for me. I find that the scale of my creativity scales with the size of the surface that I have. And so as much as I like this device and I like writing on it, I find it limiting when I want to be more creative. And so that has led me back to the Remarkable when it comes to working on this app that I've been talking about and trying to explore the intersection of like focusing and the fact that you have multiple contexts in your life. And the Remarkable has just ended up being the thing for me there. With that said, I think when the inevitable A5X2 does come out, I think it really is gonna take the Remarkable for a run for its money, because the software here is excellent. I can now run Readwise on this. The biggest complaint I had was that I couldn't run the apps that I want to run. Supernote has now added sideloading. It's not Google Play, but sideloading at least scratches the itch a little bit there. But yeah, I have found myself doing all of my writing and creative work back on the Remarkable now. And then the A6X2 has largely become a reader. So I've got a little light above my bed, and I'll read with the A6X2 in bed.
That's so I think I noticed you aren't using the type folio on the
yeah. So let's talk about that. So type folio. I like the idea of the type folio. This idea that you can only really do one thing. You can only write and you can only type and you don't have any apps. It's beautiful. The issue is I am way too opinionated about keyboards to use the type folio. So I had some thumb issues in RSI a couple of months ago, and I switched over to a split keyboard, and this is comfortable to me. I've got way too many like hacks and nuances in this where I can control my arrow keys from the home row. My space bars are in different places. I've got escape right here on my pinky finger without having to leave the home row. And so I spend all day programming and coding and in this environment. And so when I go to the type folio, I'm in the right mindset to focus. But then as I start typing, I expect certain muscle memory things to be here, and they're just not here. And also, not all the keys are full-length size. So like these punctuation marks are half width. And so every time I miss one of those, I lose focus of whatever the thought was. And so I think if I were less opinionated about keyboards, this could be really great, but it's unfortunately just not for me.
Yeah, so you'd recommend that to someone who isn't used to typing on a big mechanical keyboard and very comfortable with that.
Yeah, I mean, honestly, just let me plug in my keyboard of choice into my Remarkable. Like, I love that this is a thing. And for people that this works for, it's wonderful. The grab and go convenience of being able to take this one thing and purposefully leave my computer at home. Like, I agree with many of the tenets of this device, but, and I love opinionated devices, but this one is too opinionated to fit me.
Yeah. So if Remarkable did make a 12-inch, which is what the kind of thing is, that would be a bit bigger. You know, a lot of rumors are 12-inch color. We're going to talk about it a bit later, but actually that could be a bit bigger, fit a bigger hand, a new type folio, which would be a bit more expensive.
Thank you, MacBook.
Thank you, MacBook.
That would be cool, but I still don't think I would use it.
Yeah.
And so I think there's a market for it. I think there's an audience for it. Unfortunately, I'm never going to fit into that mold. And that's okay.
Yeah, sorry. Somebody else was obviously having the exact same thought as me when I said that. Yeah, fascinating. Anything else?
The idea of a 12-inch Remarkable, though, I'm into that. Like, again, I already run mine landscape. And so the idea of getting a little bit wider, that sounds good. Yeah. But I'll save my rant about the Remarkable 3 for a little bit later in the program.
But do you think, for example, even if you could plug in your keyboard of choice into Remarkable, are you satisfied with the typing capabilities and how that's sorted? For me, that's like the biggest one, because I really agree the type folio is super sexy. And the thing about it is, like, every once in a while, I just like get it out and it's like, okay, oh, I want to, I really want to use it because it's so inviting and cool. And then I start, and then it's like so boxed in that there was a comment for a writer's tool. Absolutely, I would want it for a writer's tool, but I don't have the bare necessities there, and I don't see a reason why not. I mean, if they made that pivot towards that they actually released a dedicated hardware piece of a thing, and majority of updates are focusing on the typing thing, why do you find that the typing thing is satisfactory or No,
it's not yet. And I guess that's maybe like a thing to wait and see. Is like I'm not. Let's start by saying I'm not a professional writer. I want to play one on TV one day, but I don't think any of the writers that I know would enjoy the current remarkable typing software. There's a lot of room to make that a great writer's piece of software, but I haven't seen them invest the effort necessary to do that. Like to spend time with people who write professionally to make this a compelling typing device.
Yeah, I think it is slightly higher quality than Books' Tibaldus. Yeah, I think it is. And I think
but
you're
the
right.
benefit that the Books has is you can run an Android typing app that is really good. I think that was what I said about it when I reviewed it, is like, this is okay. But the beauty is you have a full ecosystem that you can go find the typing app that fits the way you think creatively.
Correct.
And you can hook up your own Bluetooth keyboard. Just saying.
Yes.
Exactly. And if you want to live it, if you love the Remarkable thing and you love the Remarkable ecosystem and you like their apps, then they're very simple. They're very easy to use. As long as you don't need a spell checker and, any kind of tools that you've had for the last 2 decades in Word, then you'll be fine. But
I think they could lean into that, though. Like, could you imagine a first draft app that is typewriter mode, doesn't have backspace, focuses on word count, getting your first draft out and go edit it somewhere else? Like, lean into that limitation.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, good markdown support. Yeah, absolutely. Stuff like that. Cool. Should I fire into where I am up to with what I'm using, etc.?
I'm excited. I want to see.
Sure.
Yeah, I think this is where probably we had a discussion. We've had. Sorry, I'm getting there. I've got that there. We had a discussion.
Matter, I'll wait.
And I thought I was very gracious in defeat, really. But the Note Air 3 did kind of win out, and the Tab Ultra C, therefore, and I've put the Tab Ultra and the Tab Ultra C sort of on the back burner recently, and really focused in on the Note Air 3 series. Really, this is the Note Air 3, and I've really enjoyed it. Very much, actually, and I think that it is. For most people, this is the better one than this. I mean, you can just see the height difference and the size difference. And I think next, providing there's no kind of big releases, then I will be going back to this and sort of exploring that world of using this keyboard a bit more again. And I have started, because on this device, I've been focused around the notes and the reading, which has been good. It's been useful. I haven't used the apps that I was getting to use so much on the Ultra series. And so I think maybe going back to that will be kind of interesting for me, actually. But the reason for enjoying the Note Air 3C so much, the Note Air 3 so much, was really enjoying the Super Note so much. And what I'd been doing, I was trying to emulate on the Note Air. I was trying to emulate the workflow that I developed on the A6X2, really, which is really elegant and really well thought through. And I think part of that was the contents page, being able to skip about like this. You can see sort of months of planning that I've done on here. I'm in the Notes app. I'm not in a PDF app here. I'm in the Notes app, but it's a PDF background. And every sort of 2 weeks, that PDF background just updates. And you can do that here. And I thought to myself, well, what I'll do then, I will like emulate the exact workflow. I'll use a PDF as a background, and I will use... I can't add contents pages on here, but I can certainly do preview pages, and I'm in the PDF here. This was the issue. I was working, and it worked for a couple of weeks as my planner in just the same way. But notice if you can see something about this, and I've got my links there to my main PDFs. Look, which was previous page rather than that. My links here, and I can go straight to the PDFs there. Yeah, that works. That's great. Love that. Absolutely brilliant. But the issue was after 2 weeks, when I just wanted it to carry on and go round the same 2 weeks worth of planning, give me another 2 week timetable, it stopped syncing, and it's a mess. And so all of a sudden there's this massive frustration. You see it's perfect until here. And then you can see suddenly it's no longer in its nice little boxes. And the whole thing, and I couldn't find any way to get that undone and get back to normality. So I thought to myself, do you know what? I'm going to go back to my old workflow, which is annotating on top of a PDF. Wasn't broken. It was fine. It just doesn't quite have the elegance that it does here on the Supernote. And I think that's what I was missed. So my conclusion is you kind of can emulate a Supernote workflow, but if you're really interested by that Supernote workflow, just get the Supernote, because it's excellent and it's well thought through and it just works. But you don't necessarily need that Supernote workflow on books, because, well, all of my most often opened up PDFs are just there in tabs anyway. So they're very quick to get between anyway. And even then, it has what Supernote doesn't have. It has a home page, which is, and a library that's just like sort of full screen and there and easy to find all the things in any case. So I think, that it's kind of like, don't buy one thing expecting it to give you the experience of another. And I don't think that's obviously what I was doing. I was finding that out. But like, if you like the kind of advertised workflow for Remarkable, if you like the advertised workflow and the described to you in the content workflow for Supernote, then go with those. And if you like books and you want the extra things, then go for it and use it like a books. And for me, what I'm doing at the minute is I'm going through and thinking through. There's other things. The next couple of weeks, actually, I'm going to use my Z Fold. I'm going to use, because it's got a Wacom EMR stylus on it, and you pull it out and you tap the screen, and you're not looking at my screen, but you will be shortly. And you go straight to notes, and you can. There it is. Look, it's a PDF converted into a note, and it's there just the same as my planner is normally, and I'm kind of like, I know what I'm expecting this to be, but I'm going into it with an open mind, and because this is Wacom EMR still. Double tap. So it's the same excellent response. However, it doesn't have any texture at all, like even less than an Books Ultra.
I was about to ask you about screen feel.
Yeah, it's really quite hard to write as neatly. It's a bit too small, it's smaller still than an A6X2 would be. And I'm expecting to find looking at an OLED all the time to be annoying and for it not to be the experience that I want. But I say I'm going to go into that with a absolutely open mind, really, and try and do a good bit of journalism, bit of science on it, really. But the other thing I'm thinking about, is this the right form factor? And I'm also wondering, what about writing across the fold? Is this going to be a good experience here as well? And what I'm also expecting is, because this is where I get my personal messages and things like that. And, during my working day, it largely lives in my pocket unless I'm taking a break. Having a WhatsApp message bong up, will that just take me out of that kind of planning frame of mind? I'm kind of sure it will.
Let's say, how good is your willpower, Kit?
It is pretty good. But I think we all think we're better than we probably are. And, I think this is an interesting kind of discussion, really. I'm working a lot on my own kind of reading habits recently and trying to develop those. So I'm also going back to this thing. This little case just arrived today for it.
Oh, I haven't seen this yet. Okay.
It kind of just slips out of your hand when it's not in a case. And also then it's kind of a bit more protected in the back, and actually it's really good, isn't it, reading on this thing? I'm really, it needs a thumb reader, doesn't it?
Mine does have a couple of dings from drops, if I'm being completely honest.
Mine's got one as well. And actually reading on it's really good. I'm looking at different, I'm not someone who's read a lot of graphic novels, but kind of guided mode on graphic novels look pretty good. And I'm reading a lot of sort of Gutenberg things on it as well. And I'm wondering, I don't know how much you guys have been following the kind of Rabbit launch recently, the Rabbit R1 thing, and that's an interesting idea. Don't tell me you've already got one.
I do not. No. I dropped my pen. Although that would be hilarious.
Yeah. There is, yeah. And
no, I wonder, not have one.
I've also backed the minimal phone, although I've been kind of warned that might never happen. We'll see. You can kind of maybe see the minimal phone as being calls and messages and reading. Be interesting. Or any e-ink phone.
Let's see, will it focus? Yeah, I followed Miss Pixel Leaves example and did unlauncher. So now I have 3. You're not gonna be able to see it. There's only just 3 items on the Palma. I wish I could do this as a full phone.
Yeah.
One day.
And maybe some kind of AI type personal assistant type device and an e-ink device in your pocket for reading and calls and messages. Who knows?
Why can't they be one and the same?
Yeah. Just make the thing a phone. So there we are. It's an interesting one. That is a very interesting thing. That, especially the question, why is it not an app? And because you rarely get the hype that it's got around an app. And I think in a way, it is an app. And I think although it seems like
valuations is why it's not an app, because if you can usurp Google or Apple as one of these walled gardens, then it's worth an order of magnitude more money.
Yeah, but the kind of hardware itself can't be very expensive, and you're really buying an app. And maybe the hardware is only what you can buy for $100.
I guess the one argument we may find once you have it is, or the one argument I can contrive in my mind is, this is always asking for your attention. This screen is incredibly useful, but also a distraction. And so if you had a phone that had slightly more friction, but can still do all the core things you need, like messages, calls, and navigation without a screen, that gets interesting. But they're not leaning into that. They're leaning into the techie angle versus take control of your life.
Yeah, fascinating. So, Voja, how about you? How's that shifting at the minute?
Well, I've been shifting everything, as I said. So, yeah, for me, I've been looking at Light Phone 2. I actually have the Light Phone 2, just to kind of tie into this communication. I had high hopes for it, but for me, the problem was that the screen quality is just garbage. And the front light is so bad, and it was inexcusable for that kind of thing. And plus, it's a tiny thing that demands battery every 2-3 days. And people say like, "Oh, yeah, but your smartphone lasts one." That's not the point. This is supposed to be something completely different, and it's not. And then I saw that it's like, you do cut down on everything, but where are my benefits? Where were the benefits of that? I have this bad front light that's making me squint. I don't have intensity control, and it's too glaring. Great idea. Yeah. I think execution of Light Phone 2 was just not there. So for me, at least, it had a couple of glaring points, which was a shame. As far as for my stuff, let me see. Can I turn on add to stage? And then,
yeah, I saw that. Yeah. What about the Hisense lens? Have you tried one of those?
If I've tried which one?
Hisense ones.
Hisense, no.
I think they're not for Western.
I am also curious about it, but they're not very accessible here in the States, at least.
Yeah, and I think there's a lot of kind of hacking and installing by APKs rather than Google Play. But
I'm not a fan of APKs, especially now when you're actually checking things out. There's a lot of malware in APKs that
it's fine for a thing here and there, but daily driving a phone with that gets very sketchy.
Yeah, I wouldn't go there. So yeah, for my daily stuff, it's pretty much surprising, like for you guys as well. And some things surprised me quite a bit. It's the usual suspects here. So we got Note Air 3C. That's still my my daily driver for regular things, but it has changed a little bit. I rely on it as my portable all thing kind of device. So in conjunction with that little portable keyboard that I have, which is the whole point is that both of these can actually fit into my pouch that's across my shoulder. And then I can carry it. So for example, I had a car service and I waited there for 4 hours, basically. So I had this guy and I had my keyboard, and I was able to seamlessly drift and switch between note-taking and creating my notes and brainstorming. Okay, then I needed a little bit of research, pop online, check some things. Okay, check the screen, the API that I need. Okay, let's pop back and open up in the notepad. I think I can even open, so I probably have that one, because it was because it was kind of chaotic. It was all over the place. So let's say I was going, yeah, there we go. So at some point I was actually doing even code. So I needed to kind of just do pseudocode, because I was doing, okay, so this is how I'm going to be doing these things. Okay, blah, 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 writing all that stuff. And then went to the point, okay, I need some pseudocode. Okay, so I'll just drop a text box, drag it out, and then write my basic structures here that I need. And then when I went back home, I was able to just copy paste this and continue working from that. So as an all-rounder kind of a thing, I rely on this a lot. But in my daily when I'm doing the video game development thing, actually I'm not using this that much. I'm relying on 2 devices, different ones. This one is all of my writing, right? And Bender, of course. But yeah, so I don't know. This is now we're talking about. Let's see here. I don't know, how many pages are we in? 76 pages, and that's this month of notes. So this is like each month I open up a new one, and then I just do, this is my organic way of doing things, cross them over. But of course it's enjoying the workflow, which is for me indispensable. Like UKIT, I tried to mimic it. I really did try to go, because I wanted to contain myself to one platform, one ecosystem, and it just pisses me off, like the stuff that doesn't work properly.
Well, it becomes a constant distraction. Yeah, like when you're trying to focus and you break the illusion, like you break the illusion of it being paper, and then you lost your thought again.
And it just doesn't work. And as you've seen, like for me, everything's turned off. This is how I use my Supernote. I don't even have my pages here. It's like all of it totally turned off. But the big surprise for me was actually, and you've probably seen it now in a couple of videos, Quaderno A4. It actually spontaneously popped back into my workday, and it has only one purpose. Just the only thing that I do on it is that it runs MDO and nothing else. And for that, I absolutely love it, because there's no other device comes close to not feeling like a tablet. This doesn't feel like a device. This feels like a surface that you're simply writing on, which to me was the original idea of e-paper, right? And there is something so wonderful about it, but it has so many limitations. I could never work only on this. There's like, it's ridiculous how many limitations it has, but for that one thing, it's perfect. So this is my planner, Quaderno A4, and that's where I do all of my stuff. And all of my notes are on the A6 X2. And when I do have portable stuff, then it's this one as an all-rounder. And for my reading, I'm still with a Sage. For me, it's an absolutely perfect fit. Yes, the battery is leaves a lot to be desired, but I don't know. The form factor is just spot on for me, and that's something that I gravitate to. So for me, those are the devices that I'm using on a daily basis, and that's how I'm kind of using them now that I have my routine.
Brilliant, absolutely brilliant. Some really good things. Really good things on that. Cool. Should we fire on with the next one? We've got planned.
Yeah.
Have you got any? Unless you've got any responses to that, Brandon?
I do not. It's interesting.
Really interesting. Firing with questions. We probably will get a little bit of time for Q&A as well. There is some really good questions in there. And I always love to see the discussions that you guys have in the live chats. The next thing we want to talk about, it might be briefer than we maybe thought, but for thoughts on Remarkable 3 and what that could be. So
do you want to hold that one? Do you want to hold that one and do the pen one? Can we do it in 10 minutes?
Yeah.
Yeah, we can do it.
Let's do it.
Maybe we could just let's do the pens or did you mean Remarkable 3?
I was thinking we could probably do the pens and questions, and then Remarkable 3 is maybe a bigger discussion.
We touched on Remarkable 3 earlier on, didn't we? And we haven't got any new information on that one, really. It's still very much rumorville, isn't it? I think the interesting thing is color, really, with that, isn't it? Do you want it to be color? And I was just thinking, I just want to briefly talk. Does it need to be color?
Wait.
All right.
Idea.
I guess we're doing it. All right, let's do it.
No. Wait. Just an idea. Because the time is running the way it is, we can do pens now, and we can do the Remarkable 3 later as a separate stream. But we do our homework as in we prepare what we would wish it to be. What we would actually like it to kind of be.
The alternative universe where we get to build it.
Yeah, to kind of build like what I would like it to be, and also like what you think it will be. And then we maybe kind of can compare those. Sorry, guys, for you guys watching, this is basically how we do our stuff, but we haven't seen each other in a while. And so we get to chat a little bit as well. But
we'll do in a couple of weeks. We will come back and do something. Yeah, we'll get a date before we
always leave them wanting more.
Yeah, before we leave this, we'll get a date and we'll do all of this. Cool. Let's do that then. So the pens. What's your favorite pen and why? Do you have a different favorite pen for different devices? I think you're gonna have to. I'm gonna ask. Did you guys receive this? Did you receive the Books Black stylus? It's called.
I have. I didn't have time to check it, but I am checking it tomorrow. So I don't know. I haven't even unpacked it yet.
It's
well, close your ears then, Voja. Talk about
No. I'm all ears now.
Okay. You want to go first?
I'll just show it because I mean it is a clear. I don't know if imitation is really the fairest word because this pen itself is an imitation of other pens that look very much like this, and this is a classic design. But clearly, books are thinking that there is maybe a desire out there for a classic-looking pen. It's quite hard to get the lid off, but it does have no real differences apart from that to the main book stylus, and you lose what you have with the book stylus, which is the magnetic snap, of course, and the books cases don't currently have the nice pen loop that the Supernote ones do. And so it's just an interesting one. We're talking about what's our favorite pen, and mine is certainly the Heart of Metal 2. And you asked as well, is there a different favorite stylus for different tablets? Well, yes, there must be, because unfortunately this can only work with the Supernote devices. And I just think, it's an interesting one that books are clearly thinking about this for the future. Will they not be the only ones to bring out a more premium feeling pen? I'm personally, the little digital styluses don't, they're fine, but they don't necessarily do it like a digital pen do. So what about you, Brandon? What's your thoughts on that one?
Yeah, so I got this pen and books didn't say that I can't say anything about it, so I guess I'll talk about it. I don't even know what it's called.
It's called the Books Black, but it's not on. You don't need to try and look it up. It's not on any websites. It's not available, I don't think, yet to anyone.
Yeah, so I was a Kaweco driver. I love this Kaweco All Sport. This is what I would carry around. Recently had a little bit of an issue with it, which is there's a little like film that sits in there and makes it so that the lid and the back post together and don't come loose. But the issue is it is slid, and so now when I go to screw the pen together, it doesn't stay together. So I need to go in there and grab some pliers and pull that out and get it right. But in the meantime, I did receive this pen from Books, and no, they didn't tell me to say good things about it, but I really do enjoy the weight of it. I love the premium feel of it, and it's been a great daily carry. This is the pen that I walk around with now. And I guess the weird thing about this pen is I don't think I would use it on a Books device because it doesn't have an eraser, and erasing is a pain in the butt on a Books device without an eraser. So I like the Books Black, but not on a Books device. And so I use a Books Black on a Remarkable 2. Aside from when I'm on the Supernote, which I really enjoy this clicky pen. And I had the Heart of Metal before on the original Supernote, and I liked it. I liked it a lot, actually. But I don't think I want a Heart of Metal on the A6X2. The convenience of this click and how satisfying that click is, I think if you gave me both for the same price, I would take the clicky one all day, every day.
Over the Heart of Metal, wow.
I would.
So, yeah, I mean, I was surprised by how much I like the clicky pen, but it didn't go straight to, favorite feeling pen over this Heart of Metal 2. Voja, go on, what about you, man? I think I know. I'll give you, I think it's still the Scribe pen. But you also like the Lenovo pen.
Yeah, but I have my old time favorite. Let me just So as far as the Supernote goes, there was a question here. Somebody asked, like, hey, I think that the Heart of Metal will work on Books devices. Technically, yes, but you will scratch your screen over time. So don't use it. Yes, but no. Between the two, absolutely no question that the Heart of Metal 2 is a wonderful feeling premium pen, and it's so tight and nice and stuff. But there's just something charming about, this combination. I have no idea. And for me, I don't even care. That's how good it works. I'm like analytical. I like super nerdy stuff. This is one of the combination where, yes, I get it. And I was thinking like, oh, it's plasticky. It's cheap.
That rattle.
Wacky,
that rattle used to bother me. Yeah.
Yeah, the rattle did.
When you use it, it doesn't bother you for long. Like
I don't care.
And you forget it.
I actually like it, and it's I don't know. I think it has to do with precisely that it doesn't feel like it's premium. It doesn't feel that it's fancy, and therefore I don't care, and I love it more. For me, then it's like I can actually just have. I don't know. It just works for me. So yeah, this is the combination that I use for the A6 X2 and the A5X if I use it. Although I have to say that since I have this one, when I need more, I just flip it horizontal in landscape, and it's fine. But for everything else, it's actually my trusty old Samsung S6 Slim.
Okay.
And let me just put a background so that it can focus. But the thing that I was experimenting with, I'm always experimenting with the tips. I'm trying to figure out which nibs to use, and there we go. And currently, this is actually Samsung's hard but precise gray nib that they actually give you in the package. And the reason why I went back to it is because I was using the Supernote pens, which have very, very slim and really precise ones. And I spent a lot of time with this one, and then went back to the old nibs. It felt like I was writing with a stump. Like, okay, now let's write a little bit. Like, it was like, what the hell? It's
when you feel like you have to swap them constantly because of it.
It's just weird. And then I kind of figured out, okay, is there like a nice, precise one that's not going to ruin the screen, like the titaniums or ceramic ones and things like that? And currently I'm working with this one, and I absolutely love it. And I love the harder feel. But for me, the precision is the thing that makes me write with less effort and less thinking, and then I like it more. So
I think that's maybe the interesting thing. Of books clearly are thinking, and obviously the other companies are as well, that there's kind of a bit more style, a bit more something above just a sort of digital stylus. And I think really what I'm hearing is people want choice, and you can exchange these nibs out, and this is just the same felt nib as the other books stylus, and so it's that you pull this thing out and you're disappointed when it's like, oh, it's the same feeling. Just by choosing to put the harder nibs in there would have made that, oh, yeah, okay, it's a firmer, more pen-like feeling. But I think also you can do that. You can take that out and you can research online and you can buy the right pack of nibs and make sure you get the right ones that fit it. But who's going to do that? And actually, well, people like us who
the people who are watching this stream will.
But it's harder than it looks.
It is.
But with books, like give you the option as you click through, like which types, and go ahead and brand them. And maybe it isn't this kind of classic sort of 70s-ish black and gold kind of look that is working nicely with the heart of metal. Maybe it is a bit more of that kind of 80s kind of clicky, plasticky, that kind of harking back to a analog kind of age for our digital stationery. I think that's the kind of interesting thing, that having the different choice out there is what is going to move this for
it's a very personal decision, right? It's what represents you. It's what represents the environment that you're working in, and how you want to be perceived in that space. I think, sorry, I don't want to give Remarkable more credit, but I think they figured out the flair side of things. They need to figure out how to keep the tech up to date and exciting there. But I think the others are taking some cues from that and taking it their own direction. And I think choice is great.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. Cool. There's some really nice suggestions in there. Would it work with just a screen protector if you're going to use that?
Yeah. If you want to use a heart of metal or ceramic or titanium stuff, yes, the screen protector would work. But I addressed in my latest Q&A, you really need to be aware of the material fatigue if you're using titanium. If you're considering using titanium nibs, they have different mass, not weight, mass. The material has different mass, and also it is not as flexible as the material that the pens were designed to work with. Therefore, you will ruin your pen much more quickly than you will start scratching your screen. But inevitably, you will ruin your pen and scratch your screen over a prolonged amount of time.
And I have had that happen personally. I use the Rainier titanium tips in my Remarkable marker, and it felt beautiful. It didn't scratch the screen, but my marker lasted 6 months before the internal.
That fast.
Yeah. And so again, if you've got dispensable income and you want the best writing experience, in my opinion, it is still the best writing experience. However, know that you're going to go through stylus. And so I did a video on that, which is, it's still the best writing feel, but know that you're taking a chance and that you're probably going to need to swap out styluses after less than a year.
Yeah. Which kind of defies the purpose of an everlasting nib.
Yeah. Well, it needs to be that. I mean, that. And I was interested to see that Feel Right 2 is a Wacom trademark rather than a Supernote one. So that other companies maybe could get on that and share that. In that kind of analog, kind of digital things, I don't know if you guys have looked at Pocketbook much, but I just want to show you this. Like, it's not so much the device, but the case, and the way this looks, and it looks on your kind of desk of this. It's like, oh yeah, there's a book. Doesn't it look the part?
Yeah, it blends in.
Looks nice.
The case actually, it clips in. Can you see it's flush with the thing? Because you take a piece of the plastic back off. And it clips onto that, so it's just.
I actually really enjoy that. I mean,
X2 will be.
Yeah, that's kind of one of the issues with the type folio, is it makes the Remarkable sit higher off the table. So I love that they shaved out that piece so that it doesn't have any trade-offs like that.
Yeah, that's an interesting point. Yeah, and Voja, you're absolutely right. They have said it's going to be a half folio.
Yeah, so that's probably how it's going to be.
Yeah.
Hopefully.
So that's cool. Have we got a few minutes for Q&A?
Yeah.
Yeah. Everyone happy with that? Cool. Let's go back into our sort of delightful. So you guys, it's going to be quite a quick fire round, everyone. Let's get rid of our other screens. We'll put them back on if we need them. Reset. There we are. I've started a few if you want to fire into them. Any other questions? Yeah, Dr. Grip, just really quickly with that. You can't buy it again. I looked the other day; they're not available in the UK. Certainly, I guess I could import some. And the Wacom 1pen, people do enjoy that as well. Let's fire through a couple of these. Transparent laptop displays. What are your thoughts about those?
You mean transflective LCD thing?
Yeah, there's that. We've got the Radiant. I'm thinking, is this more about the transparent Lenovo thing?
Okay.
It's got to be for something else. And we see transparent displays in sci-fi all the time. But of course, you can't really have text on a transparent display if you're going to enjoy the screen being in the space. I was wondering about this kind of, spatial computing and things like that, and you're putting something in a space on a transparent screen. The Lenovo, you can detach these screens now, and you could maybe have, I don't know if you've seen the Android Lenovo, you can take the top off it, and it's just an Android tablet with its own separate processor. And then you can have the base of the laptop plugged into a projector or an external display if you'd like. And so you have a bit of both. So I wonder about, this transparent technology. Is quite low resolution at the minute, isn't it? And then there's the eZai itself, and the second generation of that now as well. Any thoughts?
I don't know. As far as the transparent stuff, I think it needs to get there. So it's infant steps. But I would much rather like to see development of holographic displays. I think we do have tech that's probably going to be able to do that. So if people are investing time in developing new type of technology, then let's go there. It's going to be more fun.
Yeah, and regarding reflective, this isn't a comment on reflective, it's just more for me and my use cases. I'm a designer by trade, so reflective is really kind of off the table for me.
Yeah, color accuracy, you need that.
Yeah. Again, I think in an outdoor device, that definition changes, but if I'm doing my core work, I don't have the room on the desk for it.
Cool. Does SuperNote handle dictation? No, because there are no microphones, unfortunately.
Yeah.
Tabex successor?
I expect that there's going to be a color version because we do know that e-ink has made a Kaleido 13.3 last year. But so far we haven't seen a device that's utilizing it yet, to my knowledge.
What would that cost?
A kidney.
And
probably a cool 1,000, yeah. Probably.
I'm not sure who's the audience for that device.
I don't know. And it's going to be like, what, 227 PPI, maybe? Something like that?
Probably.
Yeah.
And so, it's cool tech. I just don't know who it's for.
Me neither. But I absolutely guarantee you that when it does launch, people are going to go bananas for it because it's 13.3 and it's color. Whoop-de-freaky do. But, okay, I mean, great. I would rather see some different kinds of things, but I think that we will be seeing it because it has all the keywords that internet overlords will deliver to you also helpfully so that they can instill the thoughts into your subconscious so that you have to buy it.
The FOMO is real.
Yes.
Time is it there again, mate? What about this OneNote on books, tablets? It's a very often question. It was also quite often covered. The default app can't ignore the lack of unlimited page size. Yeah, I just really want there to be more apps developed with e-ink in mind, and I hope that as it becomes a bit more mainstream, that will be the case. as far as I'm aware, there's only that one other third party that you showed off, the Simple Notes app, Brandon, that uses the Books API. That means you've got the fast response time.
Yeah, I mean, the tricky thing for them is when Books migrated to color with the Android 12, there was a period of time where none of those APIs worked on the new devices. And so
right.
it's tough sledding for engineers. It's a leap of faith. And unless you can get some firsthand support, you're putting a lot of hours into something that could stop working at any moment. And so I think with Supernote... Oh, go ahead, Voja.
No, go.
I was going to say, with Supernote supporting sideloading, I think this opens up another interesting angle, but it's still a dangerous place. Like, as much as I'd love to go build an app for this, I just don't want 6 months to a year of my life to dry up overnight. And so if someone wants to take that leap of faith, I think there's a cool opportunity there, but it's a little scary at the moment.
Imagine how good and prudent of a business move it would be for Books or whoever to actually have a developer support program so that they synchronize with the developers and that they have apps that launch with a new update, for example, and a new line of devices and things like that. I mean,
if anyone wants to talk, reach out. Come say hi.
You're brave, dude.
What about this one? In terms of color devices, it could well be the Tab X, and it's linked to another person has asked if it's worth buying a Tab X right now. We could well see a Tab XC soon. Again, no information that I have on that as yet, but it would seem logical, although expensive. Interesting. Perhaps with this kind of focus that they have had on the text, although I think that the Note Air 3C has been such a popular device that maybe they're not sure that the Tab Ultra style of devices is the way to go. And maybe we won't see. I've for a long time been expecting a Tab X Ultra, big thing, big keyboard, basically as close as an Android e-ink thing can become to a laptop. But whether now they're thinking actually there hasn't been an appetite to spend $200 extra on the Ultra C Pro, so why would we go down that route with the X sort of size, the 13.3 inch size? So it's an interesting one.
I guess, what about an integrated Microsoft, like a Windows device that did that? Like, would that change your perception on this at all? If you could have an all-in-one that was a portable instead of just a dedicated display?
Well, I've been using e-ink on Windows.
Basic there.
Sorry,
I've been using e-ink on Windows on the desk, and it's kind of good, and it's kind of flawed as well. And I think that the thing that is running a native screen on Android, Books have got it down, and it's like the screen, in all different situations, is changing the way they're running the screen. You've got customization, but they've also got some pretty well pre-optimized settings for most apps, like the standard ones and their own ones. You go into a web browser and it looks good. You go, whereas Windows doesn't have that. There's no, as far as I'm aware, drivers for e-ink directly on Windows, and so that would take a lot of time to go. And it is. I
think Mac OS suffers from some of that stuff too. You get some flashing natively.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, and it is still the case that I think e-ink is best for text, and I'm interested to see where e-ink will go with that. Whether color, are e-ink willing to drive this kind of productivity and it look for people to have it on laptops and on Windows and Mac OS. It's gonna, as you point to there, a really good analogy. Tough sledging is like a really good way to put it. It is a lot of development when the total addressable market, I suppose, is still going to be pretty small.
It's growing, but still small.
Just sorry to jump, but just to address the question that was kind of listed there for text processing. I wouldn't say that Books has the best text processor, the native one, in its notes, or when it has the text note. Actually, no, because it has some weird latency and stuff like that. So, but you do have Google Play. So I would say then you just download and use Word or Google Docs and you're fine. So it's not Books that has it, but Books does have the ability to load that, and then it works. Although you can load, now you can't load Google Docs, but you can load Word onto this, right? Have you tried that?
You'll be able to find a good text device, a good text app.
Yeah.
So I haven't gone down that path personally, just because, again, I'm not a professional writer. But I'm sure there's something there.
This is an interesting one. Do you think color is needed on e-ink? No device really looks as good as you want to do. That is, that's true. But it's
Ed is teeing up my rant.
Go for it. Fire on.
Go.
If you've planned a rant, mate, we have to hear it.
I guess we've had. Oh, I'm gonna shoot myself in the foot. But all right, so we've had a year with Kaleido. I like it, but I don't love it. And so, like, for my core use case, reading and writing, I would rather have a black and white screen than the Kaleido screen. If I'm just reading, I'm just writing. I don't read comic books. If you're a comic book reader, ignore everything I'm saying. This does not apply to you. But if your core use case is to write and to think and to read, I find that the black and white screen is a more enjoyable experience. It's clearer, it's sharper than the Kaleido screen. Anyway, that's my rant. We're getting tons and tons of Kaleido devices because Kaleido is cool and sexy, and it's the best thing we've got, but it's not the right tool for every job. And rant.
Yeah. I think that answers.
That's not a rant. That was perfectly reasonable.
Feel let down. You feel shortchanged by that. Which I'm sorry.
I went even. I'll show you a rant.
All right, Voja, impromptu rant time.
It's late. It's late. My filters are off.
Cool.
For me, Kaleido screen was I gravitate towards Notaire 3C, and I enjoy having the option of having the color for an all-rounder type of a device.
Yeah.
But I absolutely agree with Brandon for writing, typing, and reading. Black and white just works. However, sometimes I do need the color one because I do need colors in the content that I'm reading, right? And then that actually makes a difference. So it really is an individual type of thing. Is it a must? Maybe, depending on what your needs
Depends on your use case. Yeah, 100%.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, I think this is it. Like, and the colors, the reds aren't good. It's an interesting. The Tab Mini C does seem to be one of the better ones. So I don't know whether that size of screen is better. Incidentally, that Pocketbook has a Kaleido free screen, and that looks really good with some color content on it. One of the better ones. I guess it's never in its kind of fast mode, that one. But I think Kaleido is a stopgap for e-ink. That type of technology will go, and real CMYK e-ink capsules will come, and that's basically printing colors, the three red, blue, and yellow, essentially good old primary colors. Once they've got that sorted, and they can actually bring different amounts of four different pigments to the surface, that's the way it'll be. Once they can do that fast enough, then that's what we'll see in all devices. So that's why I think Gallery 3 was so exciting when they were talking about that for tablets, but it just isn't there yet. So e-ink, in my opinion, they've decided we've got this other technology that's quick enough to work in the devices that people want. It looks good enough. We can now get it to a high enough resolution. People can run the front lights and it'll look white enough when it's white, but it's a stopgap. And can books do that? Probably not. I think the contrast, it's baked in. It's part of the hardware, that color matrix.
Based on the filters that are necessary to create a larger color spectrum.
Yes, because what they're doing, in my understanding, is they're kind of darkening the area that they're trying to make white because they're trying to stop light coming through. And that means that you just get this low contrast in the whole thing. And the white is only where the white ink pigment is, really. So you just, not easy.
No.
We're going to do this one and the next one. I'm afraid we've decided to postpone that one. What's the point of the Palmer? More on that in the future, and loads of videos on that one. And do you know, Palmer is really like, I don't know if you guys watch much TikTok, but there's lots and lots of people on TikTok really interested by the Palmer, you know, and it's I have a few videos on TikTok if anyone's interested in that, but they're largely the same content here. And the one thing that's really taken off on TikTok is my books Palmer videos. Go figure.
Yeah, I mean, it makes sense. It's a cool device. It's another one of those devices, though, that is kind of a proof of concept.
Yeah.
It's like there is a future version of this that is really, really exciting.
It's the wet handkerchief on the wall. It happens to stick well, but that's what it is. Just my 2 cents.
See, we got a rant out of Voja after.
That's not a rant. That's an honest opinion, but okay. I'll show you our rant.
Yeah. Really quickly, Brandon, what was your Palmer menu program called again?
I can't take credit for this. So Miss Pixel Leaves did this. I had an earlier version of this on the Note AR3C, but this is Unlauncher. So, but credit goes to her for that one.
I think this is best black and white low latency typing. I think is one of the Ultra devices. Am I right? Even if you're cooking out to a different keyboard, I think the Books Ultra devices, if you really typing, was your thing? TabX?
Well, so I think it's more complicated than that. So, yeah, I mean, the other thing is clarity. So, like, are you willing to trade quality for latency? And that sort of is another piece to this, because if you want it to be really responsive, you can have it be really responsive, but your letter forms become jagged. And like, does that become a distraction at a certain point?
It does. Because you don't, it doesn't matter if you have 300 or gazillion PPIs, it's going to half your resolution, and that doesn't matter.
Okay, I think this might be the last one.
We're going to call it. This will be the last one. All right, let's do it.
It probably is currently if it's got to be color, it probably is the Tab Mini C. I think, can't think. Did Kobo now have one, which I haven't tried, with color and a pen input?
Yeah, the new one that just came out does that. I haven't used it.
Yeah. I haven't yet, but I'm gonna reach out to Kobo because I got a lot of requests about the new Libra. Was it Libra Color?
Yeah. I've never used a Kobo device, so it's sort of like a tough switch of like, I have Kindle, I have Readwise Reader. Do I need another ecosystem?
Yeah, fine, but it isn't Wacom EMR. It's a active stylus, so you got to live.
Again, like the Sage and the Ellipsa.
I think I mean it's using the same pen.
Damn.
So yeah.
Well, there's no other reaction because it doesn't work. I mean, it's bad. That's the Achilles heel of the Kobo Ellipsa 2E. Well, also the crashing software. Okay, never mind.
See, we queued up the rants. This is lovely. We just got to keep Voja out past his bedtime, and then we get rants.
Definitely, I get cranky.
and as for Carlo, it's 2 a.m.
Where's my cookies?
As we say, it's 2 a.m. wherever you are, Carlo. It's 5 p.m. somewhere. So
yeah, it's 5:25 here on the east coast of the U.S.
Do we queue in the beer now, or what?
Yeah, bed probably. Okay, thank you for watching. Thank you, you too.
Oh, thanks everyone. Appreciate you.
See ya. Bye.